Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Impact Farming Show. Today, we have an amazing guest. We have Rose Tryon. How are you?
I am great. Tracy, thank you so much for having me on.
I am so excited to be chatting with you. Rose is the president of the American Agri-Women Association, and today we're going to be chatting about the association and an exciting event they have coming up. So, Rose, welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you tell us more about yourself and your role with American Agri-Women?
Absolutely. So I was born and raised on a beef, dairy, and potato ranch in Northern California. I always make sure that I say Northern California. And I am a fifth generation farmer on my father's side and Portuguese immigrant and third generation Portuguese immigrant and farmer on my mother's side of the family. And my husband and I still farm on our family ranch in Del County, California. And yeah, I'm a retired district attorney investigator. I used to specialize in sexual assault and child abuse investigations and domestic violence investigations. I'm also a full-charge bookkeeper, specializing in agricultural bookkeeping, and I served as the 25th state president of California Women for Agriculture. And ironically, I'm currently the 25th national president of American Agri-Women.
Wow. Okay, I was not expecting all that. I'm getting to know Rose like you guys are as well. You know, the funny thing is, usually before I interview somebody, I know them. I've met them, but this came about in a lovely way. So hearing your background, an investigator, that's amazing. And wow, that would be challenging too. Crazy.
Yeah, I
Wow.
started out my law enforcement career as a juvenile probation officer, which was probably the toughest job I ever loved. And then I went into the sexual assault, child abuse, and domestic violence investigations for the district attorney's office later. So, yeah,
That would be a
feels
challenge.
like feels like a whole lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
But my love for agriculture has always been my drive, been my background, been my heart. So.
Oh, I love it. On that note, then, why don't you tell us about the American Agri-Women Organization, what it's about, the mission, vision, all the good information?
American Agri-Women are just an amazing group of women from all over the country. We have been advocating for agriculture since 1974. We're a nonpartisan voice for agriculture, and we speak on behalf of the busy farmer, rural communities, and things like that. And we're here to help promote agriculture and, quite frankly, to preserve our family farms and ranches.
Beautiful. I got introduced to you by Chrissy Wozniak, a fellow podcaster and dear friend of mine. And she said, Tracy, you got to meet this group of women. You got to join. You got to join. They're so amazing. And the work they're doing is amazing. Because, well, and I'm sure I'm in like company, Rose. I'll just go down a rabbit trail here. Many people that are in agriculture, and it's not this year and it's not last year, we're watching what's happening to the industry and so much going on and looking at our different rights and who's protecting us. So I'm so happy to have learned about your organization. And when Chrissy said you got to talk to Rose, I'm like, absolutely, let's get you on the show. So that's beautiful because you know what? We need people. We need people. And I'll say this really quick, and Chrissy and I have chatted about that. If you look at the population, 98% are urban people, 2%. That's what they say. I think it's even lower than that. Now, put those demographics into politics. Who is advocating? Who is educating for us, right? That's the scary thing I've always said. Because if something comes up in either of our governments, is there enough awareness there? So I love the work you're doing. Pardon my rabbit trail. I had to say that.
Well, let me just tag on to your rabbit trail
Please,
just a little bit, if
please.
that's okay.
Yes.
First off, shout out to Chrissy. I love Chrissy. I am absolutely fortunate to have Chrissy serve as my vice president of communications. She is absolutely incredible and awesome. But this brings up a really valuable point, and this is why those of us in American Agri-Women are so passionate. I think as an organization, we realized years ago that how much policy that's created in Washington, D.C. really affects our farming operation. And other statistics, and you're right, like maybe 2% of the people actually grow the food for the rest of the country. And, the United States is a leader of growing food for the world. And although now that I realize you're from Canada, there you may have an exception for that. But at
That's
any rate, so it's really important, I think, for women to make. The other part about that is 1/3 of our farms are now owned by women.
mm,
And that's really important. A lot of us come upon ownership of our farms because maybe our husbands died, or in my case, my father died, so now I am running my family's farm. And so I think it's really important for women and farmers in general to really start to make the connection about how much policy affects the way we can farm and how we farm. And so we truly need to focus on making sure that there's good policy out there, because so many of our policymakers have no clue how their food is grown.
yeah. 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 And then if a policy comes up and they go, well, that sounds like common sense, and they vote for it, they don't realize the impact that they can have on our industry, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, most of the impacts seem to be more negative than they do positive. So that is truly, I think, one of the most incredible things that American Agri-Women does. Is there's a lot of agricultural women's organizations out there, but American Agri-Women has been on the forefront of advocating for good agricultural policy. And that is really what we want, is women to come join us and to learn about ag policy, to learn about, the policies that are being passed, and to help us advocate for all corners of the agricultural industry.
I love it. Let's go a little bit deeper there. So tell me how the organization's set up. Do you have local chapters, state chapters? I think at one point you had Canadian representation. I don't know if you do right now. Can you talk about that? And then I want to go one more deeper and go, what do those meetings look like? What do you guys talk about? Now that we're in the flow, I'm like, this is interesting. What do you guys do? So can you
My plan is to convert you before the end of this. So,
Oh, yeah.
American Agri-Women, we believe that American Agri-Women is the largest coalition of farm and ranch organizations. We have women in more than 20 affiliates and members in 42 states.
Okay.
So, it's a pretty large organization, and all of our members bring us value. And let me just share a quick,
Mm.
really, like, this is the aha moment for me,
Ooh, yes.
is if you're a member of American Agri-Women and you're going to our meetings, it's like you have a woman growing strawberries in California that learns about how to grow potatoes in Maine.
Mm.
You have women in Texas who are learning about the difficulties for women in Minnesota for them to farm. And it's just that networking throughout, that compassion for agriculture is just amazing. And you learn so much in this organization, not just about how policies affect you and your operation, but how it affects us in a more national
Mm.
spotlight, and nationally for other women agricultural organizations too. Now I'm not going to be able to talk for a moment. So.
No, you're doing great. I'm so happy to have you. Your wealth of information on this. So, okay, there's members, and is there like monthly meetings, annual meetings, and the
Yeah,
Canadian part? Can you speak to that too?
yeah. So we had a Canadian chapter that was started, I think, by kind of our main chapter, and we actually did a joint meeting in Niagara Falls several years ago, and I think that was probably one of the meetings I was not able to make. Um, but we did have a chapter up there. I'll have to kind of go back and figure out what the history is there, and if
Mm.
they're still operating at all. Um, so to talk a little bit more about our affiliates, each of our affiliates actually operates separately. So I will say I'll just use California Women for Agriculture as an example. California Women for Agriculture has probably about 1,300 members, and they have like 20 chapters that are all over the state of California. Each of those chapters operate individually, and then they operate together as the state. That state organization operates together as our national organization. So we also have chapters in Texas, Kansas, Montana, you name it. Those affiliates, like Minnesota, they operate separately from the national organization, but we all come together for our meetings. So let me just break down the meetings really quick for you. We basically only have 3 meetings a year.
Okay.
So our first, well, we'll start with our convention. Our convention is held in November. That's where we elect all officers. We decide on if there's any policy and procedure changes that we have. We usually have a great lineup of speakers. And again, we're just really focused on educating our members about the issues. And then in April, late March, early April, we have what's called our mid-year meeting. Our mid-year meeting is all focused about policy. And we go through our entire book of policy statements. We update them. And yes, sometimes we get a little involved on where a comma should go. However, but we have policies that are just from dairy, crops, crop protection, you name it. And I think our policies are on our website so people can look at them there. But we update them every year at our mid-year meeting. At that mid-year meeting, we also start to talk about what white papers that are coming up. So I'll tell you a little bit about our white papers.
Yes.
They're papers that we put out on a specific topic, and you can also see those on our website. And then those white papers are put together, and then we take them to our fly-in, which is in June. So that is our third gathering of our organization. It's usually in June, which is we're coming up on pretty soon. At that fly-in, we have a great group of speakers. We have a symposium about a certain topic. And then we actually meet with our representatives. We bring them our white papers. We try to focus our white papers on a particular bill that we either want them to support or oppose. Or maybe it's just educational about, hey, look, this is coming up. We're concerned about this, or have you considered this? So
Wow, that's great. Okay.
hopefully that wasn't like too much
No,
there, but
that's beautiful. As we're going, I'm like, I need to know more. I need to ask you this. So I'm going to ask you one question about how you were introduced and how you got involved. And then I want to jump back to the flying event that's coming up. So what was your introduction? I don't know if you mentioned that already, but how did you find out about this and how did you get involved?
wow. So I'm going to start with childhood. So
Okay. Wow.
growing up on my on my family farm, I really watched my dad struggle to hang on to our family farm, and and it I don't know, it always bothered me that a industry that is so noble and that serves the world basically
Yep.
is so difficult on the people who work in it. And so that was always in the back of my mind, even when I went through my law enforcement career and things like that. And so when I was in Butte County, which is where I am now, I currently live in the town of Paradise, but I farm over in Delaware County. Um, I met this woman. I was working for an ag organization, and the owner of it come to me and said, hey, there's this women's group. We think we would really like to have you come be our representative at that meeting. Would you be interested? And I said, sure. So it ended up being the North Valley chapter of California Women for Agriculture. And I started meeting with these women, and I'm going to the monthly meetings. And then I started going to the state meetings. And all of a sudden I felt like I found my people.
Mm.
These were all women who were there to support agriculture, who wanted to preserve their farming operations for their children and their grandchildren. And I just started learning so much about, you know, different aspects of agriculture, how different crops are grown, what are the issues in agriculture and things like that. And then eventually I started going to the national meetings of American Agri-Women. And then it was like this, oh, wow, this is happening all over the country. It's like my issues are also happening over here, but they don't know about these issues that we're dealing with. And all of a sudden, you had this really powerful synergy of all these great women who are willing to be there for you, to back you, to help you with your issues that you have in your state. So that was probably a long winded answer to your question, but that kind of gives you the full background of it.
Oh, I love it. That's beautiful. How many years ago was that? Quite a few years ago?
I was thinking about it the other day, and I think I started like in 2007. I started in California Women for Agriculture, probably around 2007,
Oh,
and then maybe started in the national level around 2010 or thereabouts.
and then
So
now
it's
you're the president. Amazing. That's a beautiful story. I love that. I was just going to say, I wasn't going to say it, but I'm like, Rose, are you in sales? Because you're selling me on this organization already. You speak
good.
so highly of it. Okay, so let's jump back. You mentioned the fly-in event that's coming up in June. Let's talk about that one. What's the event about? The general, I'd say agenda of the days, highlights, why somebody would want to attend this event.
Yeah, so we do this event every year, and it's a way of interacting with Washington, D.C., actually. So it has multiple different parts to it. Um, we have a symposium on Monday morning, and that symposium is put on by all of our past presidents. And this year, the symposium is climate change, but at what cost?
Mm,
And so there's going to be a lot of speakers on that. I hope I have that right. And then we also, as a group, meet with um, Washington departments like USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture,
yeah.
EPA, which is Environmental Protection Agency, and we meet with all those. We have high level people that usually come into the meetings with us, and we go through. They tell us about what's going on, the newest things in their agencies, and then we also express. If we have concerns about a particular thing, we'll talk about them. Talk talk with them about it. Many times we also have a embassy tour that we go on, and we've gone on several embassies throughout the years. And then in the afternoons of Tuesday, we start on Monday morning, we go till Tuesday, and then Tuesday afternoon we generally go out on our own with our state, other members of our state, and we meet with our state representatives.
Okay.
And then that evening we have a reception, and we give out the Champion of Agriculture Award to one of our Congress people, either in the state or Senate or House, and just to thank them for their representation of agriculture.
Nice.
So this year we're doing it just a little bit different.
Okay.
So this year we have this great program that uh, President Heather Hampton Noodle, the woman who preceded me in the presidency, worked to start a leadership group within American Agri-Women. And that group is called RTI, Road to Influence. And when you're in this group, you have to take on a project for American Agri-Women. Well, a couple of these ladies got together and said, hey, why don't we do an expanded fly-in and invite women from other um, areas and other organizations to come join us? So that's what we're doing this year.
Oh, wow.
So we're having everybody come in on Sunday. We're doing a whole special presentations with speakers and things like that on Sunday. And the gist of it is to really start to connect the dots between policy and how they affect our farms and ranches, and to give women a look, here's the bread trail for you. This is where it starts, this is what's happened. They've tweaked this law or they've tweaked this policy, and now that tweak affects us over here. So we really want this to be informative. We want honestly, you know what we really want? I'll tell you the secret. We want other women in agriculture to get as excited and lit up about influencing policy as we are.
Mm,
That's our goal.
nice. That's great. So anybody, non-members and anybody even from Canada, everybody's invited. If they hear
That is
this, they're
correct.
interested, they can come, is what you're saying.
Although I will say slots are filling up quickly.
Yeah.
So if people want to register for the event, and we would really love to have you come, go to our website at americanagriwomen.org and register as soon as you can, because slots and hotel rooms and everything are filling up really fast.
Right. And we're going to air this pretty much right after we record. So May 1st. When is the event again?
The event is June 2nd through the 4th. So we probably everyone will come in Saturday night. Sunday is our expanded part where we'll have speakers and everything for everyone who is attending. Then Monday morning we'll go into our symposium. So it's going to be 2 days of really jam-packed information. And then, of course, we'll finish on Tuesday night with our reception.
Okay, perfect. I want to jump back again to the beginning and re-ask this question to clarify. So any woman, no matter what your job, your role is welcome, right? You don't need to be in a company. You can be a farmer, and here's the delicate one, a farm wife. If you want, any woman in agriculture can come, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
It
perfect.
even it, we have, like, in our California affiliates, we have members that are just consumers and who
Okay.
care about agriculture and care about their food. So, yes, women in agriculture, please come join us and learn about advocating for agriculture.
Perfect. And I made the distinction, and everybody gets a little bit sensitive about that, but the farm wife topic, some women on the farm say, I'm a farmer, right? And they do
Yeah,
all the roles. Some women on the farm proudly say, I'm a farm wife, and this is my role. And everything's beautiful. So I just really wanted to clarify that no matter what your role is in agriculture, or if you're connected to agriculture, that you're welcome. So I really wanted to clarify that.
yeah, and thank you for that, because I immediately had this flash to my mother and to my grandmother, and I'm like, would they have wanted to be considered farmers or farm wives? And I think both, because
Okay.
they were both.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
My
that's
grand
great. Thank you for
yeah,
clarifying that.
it can be a delicate topic, which I in my actually I think in my social media handle on Twitter, I think I still have it there. You do you. However you want to be called, whatever your role, be happy with it, own it, and let's not care about what anybody else says. That's the way I operate. So, yeah.
I
Okay.
think I've always just referred to myself as a farmer.
Right.
I never really thought about it,
Yeah.
but I am a wife. So, okay.
Funny, there's a gal, a beautiful gal, Billy, Billy Miller in Alberta, Canada here. She wrote a book called Farm Wives, and it sparked a bit of a controversy when she was interviewing women, and she did two parts. So the first part, going on a little tangent here, Rose, bear with me. The first part, she interviewed traditional farm wives, like who would be my grandma and let's say my mom, that the older generation, and a lot of them called themselves farm wives. They were okay. They didn't really care, right?
Yeah.
And then her second book was more our generation. And then that's where it got really heated, because some women are like, yeah, I'm a farm wife and a farmer. Some women are like, do not call me farm wife, right? Because I am the farmer. So, anyways, it's important to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, the event, we covered that. Who's invited, a little bit about the details. Is there anything else that you want to add about the event? If so, you can have this spot here. My next thing I want to ask you about is the feedback you get from individuals that attend the event. Kind of what do women say? What do they feel? What do they think when they get there? What have you heard?
So, anything more about the event? Come join us. We would love to have you, and all of your listeners. Please come join us. I think you will learn a lot. I think most women who who leave one of our events talks about the camaraderie with the women that are in there. It's like I think there's several of us who kind of say that you come for the policy, but you stay for the people.
Hmm.
It's just a real genuine group of women. And then I think a lot of people leave just feeling, wow, I didn't know that, or I've learned so much about that. I think those are probably the comments that warm my heart the most. And that's really what we want to do. Like I said, we're nonpartisan. We want to present the facts. The facts are the facts. They're not partisan. And we just want to, have women learn more about agriculture and about the policies.
Nice. Chrissy has raved so many times about the organization. She's like, Tracy, you would not believe there's all these powerful women. They're all so smart and so kind. And believe it or not, everybody's like of the same mindset. We're working towards a common goal. Not that everybody thinks the same, but she said it's a group of like-minded women as a category. And she's just been so impressed with the organization. So
Well, I have been very impressed with Chrissy, so it has been awesome, and I'm just proud to be able to call her friend and now family, basically. So yeah, it's a great group of women. I'll share a brief story with you.
please.
So my husband and I live in the town of Paradise, right? And you probably may not know from Canada, but in 2018, the town of Paradise burnt down in a wildfire.
Oh,
So we lost like 80% of our population in 24 hours. And so my husband and I lost everything in the fire. And, you kind of just feel really alone, and you feel like, oh my God, how do we rebuild this? How do we navigate this? And then the next thing I know, I get a phone call from Maine. I get a phone call from Texas. I get a phone call from Montana. And all of a sudden you realize that you're really not in it alone. You have these women from all over the country who are praying for you, who are sending you positive energy, and who are wanting the best for you and are there to support you. So that is what I want to leave your viewers with.
that is a beautiful story. I was going to ask you why you love the organization so much. You just answered it right there. And what did you say? You come for the policy and stay for the people? Is
stay
that?
for the stay for the sisterhood.
Oh, beautiful.
Come for the policy and stay for the sisterhood.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Rose. This has been amazing. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you and more about the American Agri-Women organization. If people are interested, ladies, I should say, if ladies are interested in learning more, where can they go and check out the organization and the event if they're interested?
So the best place to go is going to be our website at americanagriwomen.org. The event registration will be there. And you said women, but let me just also say that we have men as members.
Okay.
And wait for it, the secretary for our Central Valley chapter in California is a man.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay. I didn't realize. Okay.
so
Good to
it's
know.
it's it's all good. We're all here to support agriculture.
That's
And if
beautiful.
and if anybody wants to sponsor to donate money or sponsor an event with us, we're also open to that too. If this sounds something that would work for any of the companies that may be viewing.
Good to know. A lot of companies are always looking to back great organizations. So thank you for sharing that. Rose, this has been a beautiful conversation. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
You know
Oh,
what? Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you. I've heard such great things about you from Chrissy, and thank you for making one of my first podcasts not so intimidating. I appreciate that.
you're amazing. Like you should do this all the time because you're a great speaker. So thank you so much for joining us. You guys in the audience, if you love this as much as I did, like it, share it, get it out there. Women, networking, good times, travel. There's nothing better than that. And again, if you are interested, I'll put all these links in the show notes and you can go there and check it out. So thank you, Rose. Thank you in the audience, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Come join us.